Ever felt like you're just drowning in details, documents, data? Especially when trying to get your head around something huge like a construction project, or maybe even just how a building really works behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. It's a common feeling. Information overload is real.
You are definitely not alone.
Hmm.
So today we're taking a deep dive into something foundational, but yeah, often a bit opaque. ISO 19651.
Right. The international standard for managing information about buildings, civil engineering works, all that stuff, including BIM.
Exactly, Building Information Modeling, or BIM. And our listener for this deep dive shared some really interesting excerpts from the ISO 19650 Part 1 Fundamentals. It's pretty dense stuff, but honestly full of insights that can really change how we look at these projects. Our mission today, pretty clear. Let's unpack what BIM truly is, get why this ISO standard is such a game changer, and, see how it turns that potential chaos into coordinated clarity.
Hmm.
We'll pull out the most important nuggets so you walk away feeling, well, informed and maybe even a little excited about information management.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how this standard isn't just about the tech. It's more fundamental. It's about rethinking collaboration, how information actually flows.
Okay.
We'll try and connect these ideas to the bigger picture efficiency, cutting down risks, even sustainability in the built environment.
Right. So this deep dive is kind of a shortcut to understanding, getting those aha moments without getting totally bogged down.
Hopefully, cut through the noise.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning then. What is BIM? Beyond just, another three-letter acronym in the industry.
Good starting point. Our source material actually breaks it down neatly into three sort of interconnected parts.
Okay.
First, you've got building information modeling. Think of that as the collaborative process. It's how everyone works together to create, update, store all the important info about a building, through its whole life.
The process. Got it.
Then there's the building information model. That's the thing itself. The data container, the digital model where all that information actually lives.
The digital twin, almost.
Sort of, yeah. Or the foundation for one. And finally, building information management. That's about the strategic use of that model for specific things, design, construction, running the building later on.
Yeah, okay. So it's process, model, and management.
Exactly. And the really profound insight, I think the one people often miss, is that BIM isn't just a 3D model. It's fundamentally a process that enables value-creating collaboration across the whole life cycle.
Right. Seeing it that way really unlocks its potential, doesn't it?
It does.
So it sounds powerful, but why now? Why is it gaining so much traction? What's driving the adoption?
Well, that's a key question. The construction sector, historically, hasn't exactly been a star performer on cost and productivity, has it?
No, you hear stories.
Yeah, the sources mentioned some pretty stark figures like 30% of construction cost often being rework, 37% of material ending up as waste, and get this, 92% of clients saying designer drawings just weren't good enough for construction.
Wow, 92%. That's huge.
It is. So BIM really steps in as a potential solution to these long-standing problems. Plus, you've got increasing pressure from governments, client requests.
Like the UK government's roadmap.
Exactly. They're transforming infrastructure performance, roadmap to 2030. It really champions ISO, the 19650, for big public projects. So there's a definite push.
And the benefits must be pretty tangible then.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking real savings, lower CapEx and OpEx, so cheaper to build and cheaper to run over the long haul.
Less waste, fewer mistakes.
Definitely. Better coordination catches issues early, way less rework, and, maybe just as importantly, it really helps everyone understand the project better. Stakeholder engagement improves massively.
How so?
Well,
Okay, so if BIM is this powerful solution, how does it actually come together in practice? The sources say it's more than just software, right? It's like 5 key elements working together.
that's spot on. It's a system.
Hmm.
You need structured processes, the specific order for doing things. You need clear policies, like these standards we're talking about, to guide decisions.
Okay.
Then, crucially, the people. This is probably the most important bit. BIM directors, managers, technologists.
Mhm.
You need effective management and skilled people to make it work.
Right. Technology alone isn't enough.
Never is. Then, of course, the information itself. And that comes in different flavors. Geometric stuff, 3D models, 2D drawings, non-geometric databases, spreadsheets linked to the models,
Mm.
and documentation specs, reports, visualizations.
All the different types of data.
Yep. And finally, yes, the technologies, the software, the hardware. It's interesting, though, the source notes that advanced 3D CAD like KT has been around since, what, 1975?
Wow, really?
Yeah, so this digital evolution has pretty deep roots. It's not brand new, just reaching a new level of integration. If you zoom out, you can see BIM as the logical next step, hand drafting, then 2D CAD, then 3D modeling, and now this comprehensive approach.
It's about managing the information intelligently.
Exactly, enabling better decisions through better information management,
Mm.
turning data into actual value.
Okay, so we've got a grip on what BIM is, why it matters. Let's turn to the how, the blueprint for actually managing all this information systematically. That's ISO 19650-1, right?
Mm.
The core concepts and principles.
Precisely. This standard gives you the recommendations for a solid framework, how to manage information effectively, exchanging it, recording it, version control, organizing it, nuts and bolts.
And it covers the whole project.
The whole life cycle. That's key.
Yeah.
From the very first strategic thoughts through design, construction, running the building, maintenance, right to the end-of-life decommissioning.
And what about different sized projects? Does it work for smaller stuff too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Critically, it's designed to be adaptable. Any scale, any complexity, it stresses proportionality. So you apply the principles appropriately, whether it's a small office fit-out or, a massive infrastructure project.
That's good. So it's not just for mega projects.
Not at all. And what's really interesting is the standard's heavy emphasis on true collaborative working. It's not just about dumping files in a shared folder.
Right.
It requires mutual understanding, trust, and these standardized processes so information gets produced consistently, efficiently. It's aiming for a much deeper level of integration.
To avoid
Yeah.
misinterpretation, lost data.
Exactly that. Loss, contradiction, misinterpretation. That's where projects often fall down. This standard also recognizes there are different perspectives on information management, which is vital for actually defining what's needed and planning how to deliver it.
Different perspectives, like who?
Well, think about the asset owner. They're focused on strategic business goals, life cycle costs. Then the asset user, they care about requirements being met, the quality of the space. Then you've got the project delivery team and the asset management team. They're focused on planning, organizing, coordinating the actual work. And importantly, there's society's perspective too, community impact, permits, regulations. It takes a holistic view.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we actually define what information is needed? I remember the source mentioned a kind of hierarchy, like a pyramid.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. A hierarchy of information requirements. It helps structure the thinking.
So at the top?
At the very top, you have the Organizational Information Requirements, or OIR. These are the big picture strategic objectives of the appointing party, the client, usual. Things like, we need to improve operational efficiency, or we need this building to meet certain sustainability targets.
High-level goals.
Right. Then flowing from that, you have Asset Information Requirements, or AR. This is the information needed to actually operate the asset effectively day-to-day to meet those OIRs for maintenance schedules, energy performance data, space usage information.
Okay, so AR is for running the building. What about building it?
That's where Project Information Requirements, or PIR, come in. This defines the information needed to successfully deliver the project, key decisions during design, specific construction information, handover details. Both AIR and PIR are informed by the OIR.
Right, OIR informs AIR and PIR.
And then all of this cascades down into the Exchange Information Requirements, the EIR. These get really specific. They detail the exact managerial, commercial, technical information that needs to be exchanged by a particular team or supplier at a specific point in time.
So like what drawings the structural engineer needs to provide by stage 3?
Exactly like that. It ensures every piece of information requested actually serves a purpose, tracing all the way back up to those top-level OIRs. No information for information's sake.
That structure seems really logical.
It is. And it leads us to think about what we're actually building information-wise. We end up with two crucial information models.
Okay, which are?
First, the Asset Information Model, the AAM. This supports the long-term strategic and day-to-day running of the asset. It holds things like equipment lists, maintenance logs, maybe ownership details. It's the baseline information you start with and keep updated.
A long-term view.
Yep. And second, the Project Information Model, the PM. This is built during the project delivery phase. It contains the geometry, the performance data, construction methods, all that stuff. And here's a really key highlight. At the end of the project, the PM should represent what was actually built.
Not just the design intent.
Precisely. The as-constructed reality. Then, this verified PM contributes its relevant information into the AIM at handover. So the operational model is accurate from day one.
Okay, that link between PIM and AIM is crucial. So we know what BIM is, what information we need via that hierarchy. Now, how does this info actually get delivered and managed collaboratively? You mentioned 4 principles.
That's right. 4 kind of overarching principles for information delivery. First, pretty obvious maybe, information is needed for decision-making all through the life cycle.
Makes sense.
Second, information is specified progressively. You don't ask for everything up front, and it's delivered by teams working together. Third, requirements get passed down the supply chain to whoever is best placed to provide that specific information.
Right, delegation.
And fourth, critically, all information exchange happens using a common data environment, or CDE, using open standards and really clear procedures.
The CDE sounds central.
It absolutely is. And this whole process emphasizes, specifying, planning, delivering, and then accepting the information in stages.
And checking it along the way.
Oh, definitely. Verification, validation at key points, end of a stage, start of the next, are non-negotiable. You need those checks and feedback loops to ensure quality and make sure it meets the requirements.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
So let's talk more about the CDE. How does it actually help all these different teams collaborate effectively on, like, a single source of truth? Because that sounds like the holy grail.
It kind of is. Think of the CDE less like a simple shared drive and more like the project's central nervous system, or its brain. It's the single agreed-upon source for collecting, managing, and crucially, disseminating every single information container, every drawing, model, spec sheet through a managed process.
So no more confusion about which version is the latest.
Exactly. No more digging through emails for final V2 revised.pdf. It's the hub. Everyone works from the same controlled information.
Okay, so what makes a CDE work? What are its key features?
Well, typically it's cloud-based or on a shared server. Security is paramount: user IDs, passwords. It needs to archive everything, every version, every action for audit trails and legal reasons.
Right, accountability.
And it enforces things like a strict naming convention so files are consistent. It also holds metadata separately, things like the status of the information, is it draft, approved, the version number, dates. This adds context and control.
Okay, got the CDE as the central hub. Now, how does information actually move through it? The sources mentioned a specific workflow, didn't they, to manage that collaboration properly?
Yes, a very clear workflow. It's like a controlled journey for every piece of information.
Walk us through it. Say a design team is working on drawings.
Okay, so they start developing their drawings, models, whatever. That information is in the work in progress state, or WIP. It's their sandbox, basically. Not visible or usable by anyone else yet.
Right, so they can iterate freely.
Exactly. Once they feel it's ready for internal review, it goes through a check, review, approve transition. This is their own internal quality check against their task requirements, standards, etc.
Like internal check passed. Then what?
Then it moves into the shared state. Now, other relevant teams, maybe the structural team needs the architectural drawings or vice versa, can see and use this information for coordination. But crucially, they generally can't edit it. It's shared for information and coordination.
Ah, so read only for others. That prevents accidental changes.
Precisely. It fosters collaboration without creating chaos. After coordination and maybe further checks, it goes through a more formal review-authorized transition. This is often led by the lead designer or project manager, checking against the overall project requirements: coordination, completeness, accuracy.
The big check.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
If it passes this authorization, it moves to the published state. Now it's official. Authorized for specific uses, like issuing for construction or for facility management to use in operations.
And everything gets logged.
Everything. Every time something moves between states, every version shared or published, it's recorded in the archive state. This gives you that complete bulletproof audit trail.
Wow, okay. That's a really clear process.
The benefits are huge. Responsibility stays clear, you massively reduce wasted time and errors from using wrong information, and you have that crucial audit trail.
And you mentioned federation. How does that fit in? Sounds complex.
It sounds more complex than it is. It's actually a really elegant solution. Instead of trying to create one single massive unwieldy model for the entire project.
Which would be huge and maybe insecure.
Exactly. Federation means you create a composite model by bringing together separate, smaller, more manageable information containers. Each team works on their own containers, say structures, MEP, architecture.
Okay.
This lets different teams work simultaneously without tripping over each other. It helps with security because you can restrict access to certain containers if needed. And it makes data transfer much easier because the individual files are smaller.
Can you give a quick example, like for a building?
Sure, for a building, you might federate the model by discipline: structural model, architectural model, MEP model, or maybe by floor level. For something linear like a tunnel, the source mentions separating it by systems like the track system, the signaling system, the ventilation system within the tunnel's spatial boundaries.
Or even for security, like keeping prison security data separate.
Precisely. You separate the information container holding sensitive security details, restricting access. Federation gives you that flexibility and control.
Okay, this structure is impressive. But what about the risk of just creating too much information? Information overload, even if it's organized.
Ah, yes. The standard tackles this head-on with a really vital concept: the level of information need.
Level of information need. What does that mean exactly?
It's basically a framework to define how much detail is needed for each piece of information and when. And here's the absolute key point. You determine the minimum amount of information required to fulfill each specific requirement. No more.
Minimum, not maximum.
Minimum. Anything beyond the minimum needed for that specific purpose at that specific time is considered waste. It's inefficient.
That sounds hard to implement. People like to include extra just in case.
It is a cultural shift. It requires discipline. But the standard is clear. Oversupply is waste. It leads to bigger, slower, potentially confusing models. The source even uses the term infobesity.
Infobesity, I like that. The negative impact of too much information.
Exactly. So, level of information need is about fighting infobesity. It's about ensuring lean, purposeful information delivery. Quality, not just quantity.
Right. Okay, so we've covered the what BIM and the how, the ISO standard, the CDE, the workflows. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the who and how well it's all planned, right? People and planning.
Absolutely crucial. The standard emphasizes real clarity on the information management functions, who's responsible and who has authority. And these are functions, remember, not necessarily job titles.
Okay, so what are the key functions?
You've got asset information management. This function leads on validating and authorizing information for the AM, the long-term asset model. They're involved throughout. Then project information management, they lead on setting up the project standards, the production methods, managing the CDE during the project phase,
Right.
and task information management. This is about coordinating information within specific task teams like the architectural team, ensuring their information is consistent and delivered correctly.
And one person might do multiple functions on a smaller project.
Exactly. It's about ensuring the functions are covered, regardless of who does them. It also stresses that the client, the appointing party, really needs to check the capability and capacity of potential delivery teams before appointing them.
Capability and capacity, meaning?
Capability is about their ability, skills, knowledge, experience. Capacity is about their resources, enough staff, the right technology, robust processes in place. You need both to be confident they can deliver the required information.
Makes sense. Due diligence up front. And what about planning the information delivery itself?
Specific plans are needed. Each task team creates a Task Information Delivery Plan, or TIDP. That lists what they'll deliver, when, and who's responsible within their team.
Okay, each team plans its part.
Then the lead appointed party, maybe the main contractor or lead designer, pulls all those TIDPs together into a Master Information Delivery Plan, the MIDP. This coordinates everything, aligns the delivery dates, builds in time for reviews and approvals, and it's a live document, updated as things change.
Like the master schedule for information.
Pretty much. Often alongside a responsibility matrix, which clearly shows who does what for each task or deliverable. Clarity is key.
So this all sounds very structured, very process-driven, which leads to the question, how do organizations actually make this happen? It sounds like a big shift.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It requires significant organizational change management. You can't just
Yeah.
flick a switch.
What drives that change usually?
Well, there's often external pressure, government mandates like we discussed, new technology becoming available, maybe international opportunities. But there's also internal pull companies wanting to grow, be more sustainable, improve profitability.
And what actually needs to change within the organization?
A lot, potentially. How teams collaborate needs to change. The organization itself might need to become more digitally oriented, embrace mobile tools, fully commit to the CDE. Staff need training, digital skills, and you need to clearly define what information, graphical and non-graphical, is actually essential.
So it's deep change, not just surface level.
Definitely. The source emphasizes a holistic approach is needed for success. It uses a formula. Vision plus skills plus incentive plus resources plus action plan. Change Miss any one of those and you get confusion, resistance, maybe a project that starts strong but fizzles out.
Vision, skills, incentive, resources, action plan.
Okay.
And it's not a one-off. It ties into continuous improvement. Think Deming's Plan-Do-Check-Act cycle, constantly refining processes, measuring performance against the standards. BIM itself is often framed as that essential first step towards digitalization.
Not just a cost, but a value creator.
Exactly, a value creator. It links directly to those bigger goals, like the UK's Construction 2025 targets lower costs, faster delivery, lower emissions. The source even mentions a pilot project, Ministry of Justice Cookham Wood, that saw real results, 19% cost reduction, 12% faster program.
Wow, tangible result.
Yeah, when implemented properly, the benefits are real. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What have we really learned from this deep dive today? We've definitely unpacked BIM, not just a 3D model, but that whole integrated process. Building information management involving people, processes, policies, info, tech. We've explored how ISO 19650-1 gives us the foundational principles, that roadmap for organized information flow. We talked about the CDE, the common data environment, being absolutely critical, the project's brain.
The single source of truth.
Right, and that crucial idea of defining the level of information need to avoid infobesity. Just the minimum required, no more.
Yeah, fighting that urge to over-deliver information just in case, focusing on lean, purposeful data.
So if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, you listening now should have a much clearer roadmap, right, for understanding how the whole construction and built environment sector is trying to get, well, better, more efficient, more transparent, more collaborative.
Exactly. It's a move away from those fragmented, often chaotic ways of working towards a really systematic, integrated approach. And the payoff is significant. Reduced risk, lower costs, and ultimately better performing assets throughout their entire life cycle. It's not just paperwork. It's about enabling genuinely smarter, more informed decisions.
Which really makes a difference.
Yeah.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. Considering the power we've discussed today, structured information, collaborative processes, what overlooked area in your own projects, or maybe just your daily work, could benefit most from its own deep dive into better information management. Something to mull over.